From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get you right into it. The rain we saw this morning, as expected, that main band of rain shifted northward throughout the morning and afternoon, and now we're really not seeing a lot of rainfall for most of us. It's mainly Del Norte, southern Humboldt, and northern Siskiyou County this evening that we are seeing most of that rain. But that same band of moisture right there, that is what's going to be pushing eastward with that cold front, and that's when things will really start to light up as far as rain is concerned, thunderstorms, and very strong winds. Now, the rainfall total is not that bad, right? In the valley, half an inch out in Willows, about 2/10 in Chico, almost an inch out at the Redding Airport, over 2 inches in Redway. Boy, they got pounded with some pretty heavy rainfall there. In fact, there were some flood watches there earlier today. Over an inch in Hayfork, 3/4 of an inch in Weaverville, and just under 3/4 of an inch out towards Crescent City. Obviously, a lot less as we'd expect off to the north and to the east. And we're going to be tacking on a lot more to those totals here over the next 24 hours. So the main event, quote unquote, that moves through tonight, early tomorrow morning. With that, heavy rainfall, gusty winds, thunderstorms, fairly high snow levels, probably above 6,000 feet. Also the potential with those strong winds, power outages, flooding, mudslides, debris flows, right? So we've got a lot of hazards to be concerned about as well. Not for everyone. We'll talk about where exactly those are. And then I do expect quieter conditions by the end of the week and this upcoming weekend. So here's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Tuesday, November 4th. Tonight, rain across the board, gusty winds, potential for power outages, potential for flooding, especially for parts of the North Coast, Trinity County, western Siskiyou County, even northern Shasta County. Out the door tomorrow morning, pretty much everyone will most likely be wet. And I think we're going to be looking at a chance for thunderstorms along the coast. Not very cold, by the way, 40s and 50s. Now, there is a flood watch, that is, for this evening through tomorrow morning for the areas in green, especially for southern Trinity County, Del Norte, and Humboldt counties. Also, the areas in light green, that's just what we call a general area that we could see thunderstorms, but most likely nothing severe. However, there is the potential for severe thunderstorms in the areas in dark green. And with that being said, we've also got to watch for the potential for water spouts over the ocean in that area of dark green. So these are things that we have to kind of look out for as far as showers and thunderstorms are concerned. Now I'm showing you the HRRR forecast model here during Krueger's Quickcast, and I want to use this and compare when we go into the deep dive how these two differ. Now they're both in fairly good agreement that by tonight, midnight, really hitting the coast. And then we go into the early morning hours and it's making its way into the valley and really just the widespread rain across the region for tomorrow morning. Between the hours of say 4 and 6 a.m., it's pretty much across the entire region. There's a bit of shadowing as you can see in the valley. See that you're not seeing as much of the yellows and oranges in the valley. Most of that's surrounding in the mountains. And snow levels probably above 6,000 feet. Now keep in mind, winds are very gusty at this point and also very heavy rainfall, especially in the areas in red. Now, we are seeing not a lot of activity for the valley at this point. Still off to the east, thunderstorms around Redding northward, thunderstorms to the west of the valley, including Del Norte and even Humboldt counties. And we keep that potential for thunderstorms for the North Coast pretty much through the afternoon based on the HRRR forecast model. And that potential for that convergence line that we see around the Redding area through the afternoon, that could potentially lead to some heavy downpours and maybe even some flash flooding. But take note, around Corning, Willows, Chico, Oroville, your chances for thunderstorms, and even showers for that matter, are slimmer than, say, around the Redding area. Then we continue the chance for more thunderstorms, especially in the mountains in the overnight hours, but we should see a break by Thursday. The winds gusting 50 to even 60 miles per hour. The strongest will be tonight and tomorrow morning. There you can see, here we are at midnight, strongest along the coast. Then we go into the early morning hours. Everywhere else, 40, even 50 miles per hour, a very good possibility. And then the winds will subside through the day on Wednesday, but still very gusty nonetheless. and then they should die down a little bit more as we get towards the end of the week. So for tomorrow, best chances for thunderstorms in the valley will basically be the north end of the valley. Slimmer chances as you head to the south. Everyone in the mountains has thunderstorm chances as well as the coast. And we take a look at that 7-day forecast. Yeah, we're finally drying things out by the time we get into Friday. Maybe some afternoon showers on Thursday, and that looks like a pretty good chance for that rain. But dry for Friday through the weekend and early next week. By the weekend, low 70s in the valley. For the coast, showers and thunderstorms. By Friday, everyone's looking at drier conditions. That's through the weekend and into early next week too. And that's also the case for Siskiyou, Modoc County, and the Eastern Mountains. Afternoon showers on Thursday, and then it looks like we dry things out and warm back up as we go into the weekend and even into early next week. All right, that is a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Now, let's take a look at our deeper dive forecast sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it!
Well, we do, of course, have that wet weather here that we did see throughout the day today. Starting off with the radar, it did shift to the north as we were expecting. And really, here at the current hour, as I'm recording this shortly before 6 o'clock this evening, we're not looking at a lot of rainfall for most of us. But this band of moisture right here, that's what's going to be shifting eastward, some reinforcement coming in behind that, and that's what's going to bring us that heavy rainfall. So you see the big spin in the atmosphere right here. Here's the cold front, and we've got plenty of activity coming in behind it. See this right here, these speckled clouds? That's the cold and unstable air that's going to be moving in. So behind the cold front, you've got those thunderstorms. So there's a look at the atmospheric river today. And we're starting it off at 8 o'clock this morning. There's where it was. That shifted northward as we saw on the radar, right? But then that's what we're seeing right now at the current hour. This is what's going to be pushing to the south and east. But by, say, around early mid-morning, that's not down to our south. This is 8 a.m. on Wednesday. The main atmospheric river is not down to our south. But we still have a lot of leftover moisture, cold and unstable air, and that's why we expect more thunderstorms, right? Then another push of moisture comes in for the second half of the day on Thursday, giving us another round of rain. Then it dries out by Friday, and we keep it that way. High pressure is going to be the dominant feature over the weekend. That's going to keep this from moving in. In fact, it will break apart once it moves closer to us, and we're going to be looking at dry conditions. So we do have a fairly strong atmospheric river that will hit the coast. You see here, yellow and orange, that is category 3 and 4. When you start getting into category 3 in particular, but especially 4, flooding is a very good possibility. Because what happens is it depends on how long that atmospheric river is pointed in a particular location. The longer, the better the chance of seeing that flooding. So we kind of saw it kind of pointed more at the north coast today. We've already really saturated the ground, so anything we see tonight and even tomorrow is going to be falling on an oversaturated ground, and that's when we start seeing that potential for flooding. And on top of that, mudslides and debris flows. So there's that spike, but then it really drops down. So anything we do see on Thursday, not all that significant. And then, of course, those drier conditions by Friday and through the weekend. And I wanted to show you east of the valley in the foothills, certainly not the same impact. So it's not going to be a very strong atmospheric river impact for even the valley or the foothills even east of the valley. Just to kind of give you that comparison. It's the coast that's really going to get hit hardest by this, and not to mention the coastal range parts of Trinity County and even northern Shasta County as well. In fact, you can see the flash flood potential. All the areas in green here. Now keep in mind, we tend to see those winds blow up those mountains, and we tend to squeeze out more moisture. So you see a bit of shadowing sometimes in the valley, even though there will be rain, but some heavier rainfall off to the east here, and then typically not as much off towards the east. And then it looks like on Thursday, with that next round of rain coming in, already saturated ground, rain on top of that, we could see the potential for more flooding there. And so again, there's that flood watch Tuesday evening, this evening, through Wednesday morning for the areas in green here. But again, we're also talking about the potential for some strong thunderstorms. Now, green is where we typically are, this light green. This basically says, hey, there's a chance for thunderstorms. What this is saying now, this is one more step up. This is a category 1 out of 5 right here. So it's marginal risk. And essentially what that means is this. There are those 5 categories. We don't even see category 1 very often either. And very rarely do we even see category 2. Okay, but isolated to severe thunderstorms are possible, is what we have here with that darker shade of green that we were just looking at. Now, it's limited in duration, coverage, and or intensity. You tend to see gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour, which is in the forecast. Small hail, sometimes even large hail, right? And there's that low tornado risk. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because there has been some chatter on social media about the potential for tornadoes on the North Coast. There are signs, that is, of the severe weather indices showing signs that we could see some rotation and maybe some water spouts over the ocean. That's common. We see that a lot during these severe weather events. Not as common for them to make their way on landfall. And when they do make their way on landfall, they tend to be very weak and they don't last for very long. I'd say the main concern for you, if you're concerned about tornadoes, don't be too... The main concern I think you're going to be worrying about is the potential for flooding and gusty winds leading to power outages. Those are the two main concerns you need to really have in your mind here, but obviously keep a close eye on things. So let's take a look at Futurecast. Let's walk you through the timing of all this. There you can see, this is now looking at Futurecast, right? This is not the HRRR that we were looking at a little bit earlier. 10 o'clock tonight, there's the heaviest rainfall just beginning to hit the coast. By 3 o'clock in the morning, this one's a little more aggressive on the timing, showing it a little bit sooner. Pretty widespread rainfall for the valley, off to the west. Not as much off to the east here. But then as we go into 6 a.m., then it pushes eastward, heavier rainfall there. Snow levels, again, mainly above 6,000 feet. But already by 6 a.m., we're starting to see some of the shadowing, but still some of the rain out to scattered showers, thunderstorms off to the north, and still those thunderstorms, as you can see here, for Del Norte and Humboldt counties. That's 6 a.m. tomorrow. Now, this model is still showing some afternoon convection here by around midday, but not very much. We're also seeing the strong gusty winds, and what happens is, I call these conversion zones, and that's what it's called. It's been studied, peer-reviewed. Strong south winds hits the mountains, that lifts that air up. It forces that air up. It creates instability. And that is what can create those thunderstorms. So we tend to see a line of thunderstorms around Redding, then to the northeast and northeastern Shasta County, and sometimes working its way into parts of Siskiyou and even Modoc counties. Now, sometimes these lines can hold in one place for several hours. You see torrential downpours and the potential for flash flooding. Sometimes these lines can kind of fluctuate north and south, but that's something I think we're going to have to watch and will most likely happen through the afternoon. There's 3 p.m. You see how we're still seeing that potential here getting pretty intense. Now, notice the coast. You're still seeing the potential for thunderstorms, but not as aggressive as the HRRR. But we still, I think, have a chance for some thunderstorms for Del Norte, Humboldt counties, also out towards Trinity County, pretty much all the mountains. And there's that convergence line that we're looking at around Redding, off to the north and east as well. And then you can see here by 6 p.m., still Wednesday evening, looking at those thunderstorms sticking around here, even into the overnight hours. But eventually by Thursday morning, I think for the most part, we're going to see a bit of a break. But look at over here. Remember that fetch of moisture that's coming in late in the day Thursday? There it is. By midday, rain just to the west of the valley, and then through the afternoon, that pushes eastward, and everyone else getting in on some rainfall. Again, the last push of rain will be Thursday, and then by Friday, look at this. It's dry for Friday morning, and we're even clearing things out. Looking pretty good. And then that will, of course, translate into dry and warm conditions here over the weekend as well. Maybe some passing high clouds, but that's it. We're not going to see any rainfall. Now, speaking of rainfall, this that you're seeing here does not include what we've already seen. Okay? So on top of what we've already seen, an additional 2.5 for Garberville, an additional 3 inches possibly in Crescent City, and Eureka, maybe closer to 2 inches. But here you can see maybe another inch for Chico. For Redding, maybe 1.25 inches. Now, again, if we see that convergence line develop, it could be a lot more than that. But we are seeing some of that shadowing in the valley, and then, of course, not as much off towards the east as well. But that typical footprint, north and west of the valley, we're seeing the heaviest rainfall, and east of the valley in the foothills there, you tend to see a bit more rainfall as well as you get some of that upward lift in those mountains east of the valley. Now, just wanted to show you the snow, and you have to go above 6,000 feet before you start seeing anything significant. Most likely won't have any travel concerns. Let's talk about the winds. 50 miles per hour or higher in the valley for the areas in green, for the areas in blue as well. And then this teal color, upwards of 60 miles per hour. That's where we have a high wind warning. Now, the strongest winds will be tonight. Okay, you can see here as we go into the overnight hours, there's midnight, the coast, strongest winds, but still pretty gusty elsewhere as well. Then that pushes eastward. Now we're talking 40, 50 miles per hour for parts of the valley. Now the trend through the day on Wednesday will be the winds getting weaker, but as you can see, they're still rather strong. It's Thursday, still a little gusty with that next push of moisture coming in, right? But by Thursday evening, Friday, the winds are dying down, and they should stay down for the most part. Maybe a little breezy as we go into Saturday afternoon. There you can see out of the north at about maybe 10 to 20 miles per hour. All right, temperature-wise, yeah, we're keeping it cool through Friday, but we're going to be climbing just above normal for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Another dip in the temperature. Some of the long-range more forecast models, yeah, are indicating maybe some rain by the middle and latter part of next week. But yeah, let's worry about that later. Let's get through tonight, because tonight is going to be that big event. Hey, to add insult to injury, we've got coastal flood alerts. These have nothing to do with the rain. It's the astronomical high tide that we're going to see. So on top of the flooding that we're seeing from the rain, we're going to have high tide, and that is going to create some localized flooding, street flooding, and maybe some closed roads along the immediate coast here, some of those low-lying areas. So we got the coastal flood advisory through Wednesday morning. Then Wednesday afternoon, it turns into a coastal flood watch. Yeah, so there's going to be some water out there. Take a look at those wave heights. They're not looking so great, are they? They're getting pretty high, and that'll be the case even on Thursday as well. All right, let's take a look at your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. All right, so for Trinity County, you've got temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, dry by Friday through the weekend, Monday, Tuesday as well. Your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast. Rain, thunderstorms tomorrow, maybe some of those showers for the day on Thursday, and then it dries out on Friday through the weekend. Same story up to the north, 59 degrees for Smith River, 57 degrees out in Orleans, and 63 for Willow Creek. Your Dignity Health Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Thunderstorms tomorrow, showers in the afternoon on Thursday, dry on Friday, dry through the weekend and early next week. Modoc County, showers and thunderstorms for your Wednesday. For Thursday, afternoon, evening showers, dry by Friday through the weekend next week. And pretty much the same situation for the eastern mountains here. We're going to be dry, and looks like it's going to be back in the low 60s by Saturday and Sunday. Your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast to the south, still cool, only reaching the low 60s. Now, the thing is, as I mentioned, there is going to be a chance for some stray showers through the afternoon. Okay, it's the morning you're to see the rainfall, but the afternoon, I think it's going to be few and far between. We're going to be hard-pressed to see those showers and thunderstorms. So for Chico, I've got the chance in there. And then by the afternoon on Thursday, you've got more showers. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's dry, and temperatures in the low 70s over the weekend. Now up north, I think better chances, especially say Redding, Anderson, maybe even Cottonwood. We could see that convergence line develop. And sometimes those convergence lines can kind of do this, depending on what those winds are doing. Okay? So Redding, Anderson, Cottonwood, maybe even Red Bluff getting cut up in some activity as well. But there you can see afternoon showers for Red Bluff, dry by Friday, and Saturday, Sunday as well. All right, so let's take a look at the 7-day forecast for Redding. Again, I got the better chances for thunderstorms for you, and some of those thunderstorms could create some pretty heavy downpours. Again, it depends on, just how that convergence line develops. You have to have all the stars aligned for different things to happen as far as the winds and the placement of that. But then you can see here on Thursday, dry for the first half of the day, and then showers Thursday afternoon, and then dry Friday, dry and warmer for the weekend, and we keep it that way for Monday and Tuesday of next week. All right, that's your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning at 6:30 live on Coffee with Krueger. And of course, I will be keeping a close eye on this storm overnight, so be sure to keep it right here at Weather NorCal, online at weathernorcal.com. You can also track the storm on the free Weather NorCal app. Just search for Weather NorCal in your app store. You can also watch the 24-hour streaming channel available on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick. Just search for Weather NorCal and download the app there. And you can watch anywhere YouTube is available, including your smart TV. Just go to the YouTube channel, Weather NorCal, and you can watch the 24-hour streaming channel, and you can also watch on demand the latest video forecast like the one you're watching now. Have a great night.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.